Welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show, and welcome to a brand new segment called BullBusters. As we break through the bull, we're going to bring you the facts and the fire with two great people. Nitha Khan is back, a journalist. She's written for HuffPost, CNN, Essence, and is on this show many, many times. Nitha, nice to see you.
Hello, good to see you. Good to be back. Hello, everybody. Hello, crew. Nice to always be on with you, Dean.
And also back, Tara Dublin, a writer, a political commentator. She's got a Substack that you should subscribe to. Also, the author of the book, The Sound of Settling, a rock and roll love story, which she will beg you to buy before this interview is over. Tara, nice to see you.
Thank you. It's always great to be with you. As I say, chatting with Dino is always kino.
Oh, very nice. Now everything has to rhyme. And that's
I'm
the
clever
part
like
I
that.
didn't tell you, but the segment has to be rhyming as well. So
Well,
it's
I'm a
facts
writer.
and fire. It's F around and F out. This is something like that. There's a lot of F's in this segment. And so I'm going to read for you one of the several different lies, and we'll fact check it together and also talk about, is it worth it for Democrats on some of these to fight back, or is it not? And if it is, what's the best way to do it? So let's start this one, because this is truly important and affect people's lives. Elon Musk, again, this week was on Fox and something, one of their derivative channels, lying. And just last week, first of all, he called Social Security a Ponzi scheme. This week, he's repeating lies that Donald Trump has said, that essentially there are millions of dead people getting Social Security. And the way they do it, they go, millions and millions of people over 100 years old are receiving Social Security benefits. That's Trump affirmatively lying. He says it's just like that they're receiving it. Musk plays a little game and says he doesn't connect that tissue. He goes, there's 20 million people who are 300 years old and 200 years old on the Social Security rolls. And then he goes, we have to clean this up. But they're both suggesting to their base that there are 20 million people on Social Security who are actually 100, 150, 200 years old, whatever. And that is a lie. So, I mean, whoever wants to start first, and we'll just go back and forth and have a conversation about this. How important is this to fact check? And if you want, I could fact check, or any of you want to fact check it. So,
It's okay.
Nitha?
I'll start. Sorry. It's absolutely important to fact check. And to your earlier point about Democrats, they should absolutely focus on this as well. I found it really hilarious that the White House had to put out a press release basically saying that the Trump administration is not going to cut Social Security, Medicare, or anything of the sort, because they know how dangerous this is to their own base as well, that the American people care a hell of a lot about their Social Security. And from my understanding, what part of the confusion of this whole thing comes to the software system that Social Security Administration used. So basically, it's like language in the programming that was missing or had incomplete birth dates, and then it defaults to a reference point of more than 150 years ago. So that's where they then took it and said, oh, there's people that are 200, 300 years old that are still receiving this, which is a lie. They're not receiving the checks, but in the system, it's showing a reference point of over 150 years ago.
And so, Tara, we know they're lying. The fact checkers are very clear about this. ABC News did a great fact check on it. That's a false claim. There's only about 40,000 people over 100 years old getting benefits, and that's the actual population in America of people over 100 years old. So, what do you think their end game is? Why are they doing this lie?
Well, as you know, they're going to keep feeding red meat to the base to keep them salivating, to keep them angry. And it's a much more hair trigger thing to say a whole bunch of dead people are taking your money instead of we're taking your money. So it's a distraction from what they're actually doing. And it's all part of their plan. And Musk has learned what Trump has been studying for years, which is how to distract. It's basic Russian 101 propaganda. Don't look at this because we're doing stuff, we're doing this. So look over here. So scaring people into responding to something as the smokescreen so they can do stuff behind the scenes is a bigger thing. The fact that he calls it a Ponzi scheme, that's a way to get people's attention. That's clickbaity. It's an instant thing. And it's every accusation is a confession, because if anybody was a walking Ponzi scheme, it's Trump. So, but it's not, I mean, it's the truth is Social Security is not a Ponzi scheme. And you know this because you actually get something at the end, unlike a Ponzi scheme, which only enriches the person at the top. Social Security is your money. You worked for it. You paid into it. This is your money so that you can retire. And
Mm-hmm.
to take away these programs it's a fear tactic. And it's this way, it's their way. It's like what he's doing with the tariffs. I'm going to do tariffs. No, I'm not. I'm going to do tariffs. No, I'm not. We're going to take this away. No, we're not. And it's to keep people, in a heightened sense of living at threat level midnight. And at the end of the day, there's very little that they're actually going to be able to pass with, because they need, the president can't just say we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And so it's about keeping the base scared. Well, 99% of what he says is a lie, except when he's, confessing to stealing the election. So again, it's a lot of things all at once. And that's always been their method. How many things can we throw at the wall, and whatever sticks is what we'll keep pushing, people to be scared of. It's all part of the fear tactic. There's not a lot of substance. It's all about, the show that they put on.
So it's clear they're lying. So we have bull busted that one. That one is BS. But Nitha, I mean, the idea of the richest person in the world talking about taking away Social Security from 20 million Americans doesn't seem like good politics to me. And maybe it plays the young men in MAGA who are a long, long away from Social Security and never think about getting it or something. But for their parents or grandparents and 70, 80 million Americans who are getting it, and another vast number who are on the verge of getting it, this is really serious stuff.
Absolutely. And that's why, I opened with the fact that the White House had to put out that press release, because they started getting pushback from their own voters, and they realized, oh, wait, we need to be careful how we handle this, and it's very interesting. Tara mentioned, these are benefits that you pay into, you earned. And of course, they manipulate and try to screw people over by saying that they're quote unquote entitlements, that somehow it's a free giveaway from the government and it's being given to people, and they're taking away all this money from the government, and we need to put a stop to it. Meanwhile, people like Musk are manipulating the system to enrich themselves, to make themselves more wealthy and run away with everything while the rest of us suffer. And I just want to very quickly, because I actually pulled this last year when I worked on a piece about who the real welfare queen is, when it's Musk. So the Starlink system alone makes him one of the Pentagon's largest contractors. And in 2023, he was promised $3 billion across almost 100 different contracts with 17 federal agencies. And even Tesla itself would not have become what it is without government subsidies. So if you want to talk about money being given to somebody, to a welfare queen, Elon Musk exemplifies that. And he would not be where he is without all of that funding.
Welfare queen, Elon Musk. I like that very much. Maybe
we make Tara that Dublin. Stick to him, along with the other nicknames like Apartheid Clyde and Sissy SpaceX and Clarice. I like Clarice Starlink also. That's a good
Clarice one. Starlink?
Yeah, I came up with that one. I like that one. I'm proud of that one.
That's very nice. From
thank you very much.
Silence the Lambs, right?
Well, because Trump wouldn't stop talking about Silence of the Lamb is what he kept calling the movie. You know that movie, The Silence of the Lamb? He's going to have an old friend for dinner. So I was like, well, why aren't we calling Musk Clarice Starlink this entire time?
Why not?
Why not?
All right, let's continue on. Lie number 2 here in BullBuster segment. The lie number 2 is Trump last week in his speech said, as you know, we inherited from the last administration an economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare, which he had said he would get rid of in day one. But the idea now of Trump's plan to deal with a coming recession is this simple: blame Biden. Doesn't matter if it's happened a year, 2 years in. The problem is that, as forecasters noted at the end of last year, universally solid forecast. The Federal Reserve, commercial firms, university economists all predicted the economy in 2025 would grow by 2.3% to 2.7%. Meanwhile, we sit here now, and JP Morgan and Moody's have all raised the chance that we're going to have a recession. It's completely tied to Trump's tariffs and his action. So let's start with you, Tara. Do you think Democrats, we know this is a lie. This is an easy one to fact check because we've lived through it. The economy is very solid. Unemployment was lower before Trump got in. Now we have, and he's laying people off. We are going to hit an economic downturn. The question is, how deep does it go? Really a recession, a depression, something horrible, or is it just a slowdown? But how should Democrats be talking about this?
What they should be talking about is Joe Biden's economic record and how it was the best of any president since FDR, and how he lifted America's economy out of a pandemic depression to the point that we also lifted other global economies along with ours. And when he left office, he left with a strong jobs record, low unemployment, low inflation, and the best economy. He was given he gave Trump a stellar economy, just like Obama did, and he's willfully destroying it. And the difference between last time and this time is that he's had a lot more help doing it, and he's dismantling our norms every single day with alarming speed. And so all of this was probably what they wanted to do in 2020, but too many of his voters died from COVID to help him win. So that's why he became besties with Musk this time around. It's crazy when you look at it. It makes you sound like a conspiracy theorist, but the bottom line is that Trump is deliberately crashing this economy to please Putin. Joe Biden lifted us and helped us and made us stronger, and Donald Trump made us weaker. And it's a matter of math and facts. And if you don't believe me, you can go to the archived website for Joe Biden's administration, because it's all there.
It's interesting you said that Trump is manufacturing or trying to do this recession on purpose. Jim Cramer on CNBC yesterday said the quiet part out loud. He said Trump is trying to manufacture a recession.
Exactly.
Because I don't know if it's intentional or not, but he is. And what he was pointing out were the tariffs. And the Smoot-Hawley tariffs in 1930 that Herbert Hoover signed. Historians look back, and that made the recession get into a deep depression. It was really bad. And it was the exact same thing we're seeing right now, right? It's saying, and we're seeing it right now, the exact same thing play out. Wall Street loses confidence, retaliatory tariffs by your allies. Then you alienate your allies, and that's where we are. So, Nitha, how do you think Democrats should message on this? Because this seems important to me, because look, Trump's going to say to his base, it's all Biden. And a lot of them are going to agree with it. But this is something that actually affects them personally. And at some point, they might lose their jobs. If they have a 401k or IRA, they've seen that going down. So this is beyond a political issue. This touches people personally. So what do you think? How do they deal with it?
Yeah, I think the Dems need to just plainly say who's in power now, who controls all the levers of power. They have the presidency, the Congress, the Senate, even the Supreme Court. So across the board power. So if there's anybody to blame, it's those that are standing there right now. And how we were, Tara was just discussing Biden's historic record. And, I'm a nerd, so I pulled some numbers. So according to the Center for American Progress, the unemployment rate was, let's see, in December 2024, it was at 4.1%. And it was actually the longest period of low unemployment that had not been seen since the 1960s. And inflation itself fell from 7.2% in June 2022 to 2.4% in November 2024. And again, that's from the Center for American Progress. So if you want to talk about Biden's record, there's other things we can criticize about Biden, but if you want to talk about the economy and how he got us out of unprecedented, once in 100-year pandemic, and how everything, like you mentioned, Tara, globally was in such a state of crisis, he deserves a lot of credit. And here comes Trump with his stupid policies, things that he's, backtracking on his own stuff from day to day. I mean, it's like one day tariffs, one day no tariffs, one day this, one day that. It's so difficult to keep up with. And people are going to start seeing, you have the CEO of Target and different corporations that have already come out and said, you're definitely going to see prices go up, and people are going to start to feel it in a very real way, whether it's at the or in their 401k or however have you. And just today, CNN came out with a new poll that said a majority of the public, 56%, disapproves of Trump's handling of the economy, which is worse than at any point during his first term in office. So
I agree.
Yeah, 56%, a majority are disapproving. And the economy was a big reason why many people voted for him. So good luck with that. And it's just very worrisome for all of us. We're all going to process.
By the way, Nitha, even in a way tied to this fact check is the idea that for so long people think Republicans, when there's a Republican president, the economy is better. I don't know where this came from. This is a myth. This is really a myth. This is like The Hobbit is real or something. It's a myth, right?
Absolutely. It's a myth. It's been their very strategic, clever way of messaging that has somehow made some people believe that, when it's absolutely the furthest thing.
It is, right. I mean, so Tara, we are going to end up in a recession under a Republican president. It's happened in the modern era over and over. And then a Democratic president has right the ship. George W. Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush before him, and Bill Clinton cleaned it up. George W. Bush, Donald Trump's failed handling of the economy the first time. And we're just 2 months in and he's going to drive the economy to the ground. Like he's not even waiting. He's not pacing himself. He's like, he's in his ship and he goes, you see that land? Let's hit it. And we're like, but there's rocks. Let's go. So how, do you think Democrats should make a better case overall in general? We're the ones that are good for the economy. The Republicans are not good for the economy.
Well, if you don't want to learn from history, that's your problem. But it couldn't be more clear because the track records speak for themselves. And what's frustrating is watching any Democrats trying to enable the Republican agenda at all instead of pushing back against it. And this is why I'm going to continue to ask that Democrats get our own dedicated press secretary who's out there every day. Because Caroline is lying. Caroline Leavitt is lying every single day to a very select group of chosen. Today, Peter Doocy pushes back. When you have lost Peter Doocy, you have really, that's bad. So I want us to get Jessica Tarlov, because if Trump can hire people from Fox, so can we. And she can get out there and tell the truth every single day in front of the same cameras that are broadcasting Caroline's press conferences. If we could do that, that would let congressional Democrats focus on doing their jobs instead of having to be out there going, Republicans are doing this, Republicans are doing that. Great. Tell it to Jessica and she'll tell the press, and then she'll tell Peter Doocy to be quiet while she's speaking truth to power. That's what we need. And the defining message, people keep saying Democrats don't have a unifying, defining message. It should just be obstruct Trump, because that's what Mitch McConnell did to Obama. That was the Republicans' unifying message when Obama was in office. Democrats need to have a unifying message of obstruct Trump. Well, that's what it should be. So I'm happy if we all should just make a pilgrimage to D.C. and let me do a TED Talk for all of the Democrats. And we'll just stand there and be like, this is how you do it. This is how you hold them accountable. Call Nancy Mace's office every day and be like, why aren't you mad about the Tates? It's fine if you don't get an answer, but you keep pushing and you keep asking, and you do what you can to hold them accountable by pushing the truth out like we're doing right now.
Exactly. And you don't criticize the leaders that are speaking up and pushing back. Instead, you should support your fellow Democrats that are saying something. And you're exactly right. When Obama was first elected, McConnell in January said that we're going to make him a one-term president. And they really tried to make that happen, but thankfully it didn't. So Democrats need to push back hard, need to push back every single day. And I love that idea of our own Democratic press secretary. I think that's a great idea.
You know, I remember.
Thank you. I've been trying to get it to the DNC and to Democratic leadership. It's a great idea. I thank you. I have $1 million ideas. I'm just waiting for somebody
Tara's
to
got ideas. $1 million. You should hold them and record them like a Night Shift with Michael Keaton from a long time ago.
Yeah, love brokers.
Right.
I'm a truth broker. And
the idea of feed mayonnaise to tuna, instant tuna salad. You know, I got 1 million of them, Chuck. They just keep coming.
Cut out the middleman. Let's go.
Night Shift, folks. I think it's called Night Shift. Check it out. It's on cable with Henry Winkler.
It's a great movie.
And it's very funny stuff. So look, this is vitally important. And we're going to see a Democrat's message. And I've talked about your idea before, Tara. I think it's a great idea of having a press secretary, and it could be a DNC or Capitol Hill. I've asked people who are White House correspondents, if Democrats had someone out there who after every press briefing said, we're going to fact check it right here, would they go? And he said a lot of reporters would go over. If you're right there, if you're just outside
why
of
not?
the gate.
It would be on their way out.
Right. You have to be outside of the gates of the White House.
Posts up outside the press room somewhere.
Well,
like, hey, here's truth over here, friends.
They're not going to let them on White House grounds, but right outside the gate. There's the gate that they all go through to go to the press briefings. It's right out at the end. Because yesterday, Caroline Leavitt actually said that tariffs are a tax cut for America. And everyone's like, what did you say? And the reporter goes, have you ever paid a tariff? And she got really upset. She was, how dare you question my knowledge of economics? And how dare you question our president? She was like, Oz, how dare you? Don't look behind the curtain.
I wish I was in that briefing room, man. I wish.
She is dumb. She is a dumb one. I'm not saying she's dumb because I don't like her. It's not about liking her. She's a dummy, but she sticks well to the party line, because that's when you don't think. You're just like you go out there and you repeat the same bullshit all the time. I'm here with Nida Khan, Tara Dublin, our new segment, BullBusters. Here's one that's serious. And again, it's typically the right trying to shift blame for anything. I don't even know why, but they want to, because they're saying that the measles outbreak, which has now taken 2 lives, first time in over a decade on U.S. soil this has happened, that they're saying it's because Joe Biden, of course, let in people with measles into America, and they're spreading it all over. And if that were the case, there'd be massive outbreaks, not a few hundred cases. But Nitha, do you want to start first the idea of this, and if this is something Democrats should be leaning into and correcting?
I mean, where do you even start? You know, it's your typical blaming immigrants, blaming minorities, the usual racism BS from the right. You know, surprise, it's the immigrants that are bringing it in. And they actually tried this also, I believe, in like 2015 when there were cases of measles that were popping up here and there. But any actual medical professional will tell you that the most likely scenario is unvaccinated people that are traveling overseas, whether they're going to Europe, Asia, wherever they're traveling, and then contracting it and bringing it back rather than, you know, undocumented immigrants or documented immigrants bringing it. So it's the unvaccinated. And now you have the idiots that are back at the helm. You know, Trump, to me, Trump should have been unqualified to ever even run for office just because of his
Yes.
handling of the pandemic. Like
Wow.
that in and of itself is so insane to me that somebody who blatantly and purposefully lied to the public, downplayed a deadly pandemic, allowed it to spread like wildfire, over 1 million Americans dead, was able to not only run for office, but then elected again. And then now you have the anti-vaxxer with him, RFK Jr., and you're seeing an increase in the rise of people who are not getting their children vaccinated. And that's why you're seeing diseases that we thought were eradicated here now propping back up and spreading. And it's gone to many states. It's not only Texas, like
Right.
there's even cases in New York and Jersey now, you know, that have shown up. And it's crazy. It's insane that in 2025, we're talking about measles again.
They thought, just so people know,
And
because I
to,
had the doctor
and to
on last
blame
week.
Democrats is stupid, right? And to blame Joe
Well, that's
Biden
what
is
they do.
stupid because Democrats don't go out there and tell people to not get vaccinated. That's not the Democrats' prevailing message.
Well,
During COVID, it was not Democrats saying don't get vaccinated. It was Republicans. And more people died in red states from COVID than blue states. It's just, again, a fact. And you can check. I mean, the statistics are there. And the fact that Dr. Bill Cassidy, a Republican, voted to confirm RFK Jr. means that Republicans are definitely part of the problem, because you can't blame Democrats when you voted to put an anti-vaxxer who's not a doctor in charge of America's healthcare systems. Please tell me how that makes sense. It doesn't. It's insane. That doesn't make America healthier.
But I don't think,
Sarah,
Tara, you don't know. Under Biden, they would ask people at the border, do you have measles? And they said, yes, they let them in. Go, oh, no measles, you got to stand on the other side. That's what the saying. And by the way, it gets worse with RFK Jr. I should give it one fact, though, here, because in Gaines County, Texas, where the bulk of about 70% of the outbreak was there. Yes, it's in other places now. 70%. That district's a rural area. It has a much lower rate of vaccination, about 80% versus the 95% in other places where you have herd immunity. So you've got lower vaccinations in rural areas, which they're very red, and they don't believe in science. Whereas RFK Jr., I just listened to a clip, and he's been saying this, that the way to treat measles is chicken soup and vitamin A. That's a lie. We had an infectious disease doctor on last week.
That's a head cold.
Right. There is no treatment for measles. The only thing you can do is vaccination. But telling people there's a treatment makes them not want to get vaccinated. He's misleading them to their peril. No, they're going to kill people like they did the first time. They just don't care. This is remarkable.
Yeah, and there's already people that have died from measles already, and you're seeing kids getting in, you're seeing the elderly. It's very dangerous. And measles is one of the most contagious ones that are out there.
Yep.
Like something like, you know, I think the analogy in one of the pieces that I read this morning too was that if you walk into a room with somebody that has measles, if 10 people walk in, 9 of them will walk out contracting it, you know, if they're unvaccinated.
Wow.
Yeah, so like 9 out of 10, that's like one, I forget who that quote is attributed to, but it's, you know, one of the most contagious ones. It's very scary, and you know, they're traveling all over the place. You know, you don't know who you're sitting next to on a plane. You don't know where it's going, and I don't know if you guys have looked into whether or not how long the vaccine is still efficient, the efficacy of it, you know, whether or not we need to, because there's been some talk about like some of us as we're getting older, do we need to get another booster of it, you know? So that's something to think
I'm
about.
just getting chicken soup booster. I'm getting the chicken soup with vitamin A booster. That's an RFK Jr.
Because that's going to cure everything.
Right. Because we should have an environmental lawyer as the head of Health and Human Services. Why have a doctor?
I don't know. They can't go back to the ivermectin well. That's been played. So that now they're going to try. They're advocating for chicken soup in the middle of a bird flu outbreak. I don't know. They're just trying to kill us all as fast as possible by any means necessary. So
Well, all right. So last segment here, we got a few minutes left in our first segment of BullBusters with Nida Khan and Tara Dublin. While it's not the most important issue in a way, I like it because it just shows how bad things are in the country despite Trump's lies. Because some people, even on the left, might be thinking like, well, our fellow Americans really like what's going on. So Trump in his speech last week said, for the first time in the modern history, more Americans believe our country's headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. That's a lie. And just so everyone knows, that's a clear lie. We have the data from Real Clear Politics. At the time he made that lie, Reuters had only 34% of Americans said America was in the right direction. A New Economist poll today said only 39%. The best he got was a couple of polls that were kind of close, but the average is that it's down 12 or 13 points. And it's getting worse. And it's going to get worse. As Nitha, you mentioned the CNN poll from today, that the minute people are seeing they're worried about the economy. People are getting laid off. Unemployment is going to spike when we get our next report in April for March, but I can assure people. So look, how important is this to fact check, this type of thing? Nitha?
Sorry. I didn't know that was directed to. I was actually trying to find the CNN poll. I lost it in my pile of stuff.
No, it's okay. Trump's approval ratings down
there
to
was more.
46%.
There were like good nuggets in there, and I don't know where it is. Okay, but absolutely important to fact check. And Democrats need to push back on this as well. Like this was, like I said earlier, the number one reason why people said that they voted for him, because they're worried about the price of eggs, the economy, rent, all of that. And as you're seeing stuff go up, people are hurting more and more, and that's why you're already seeing he's only been in office 2 months, and you're already seeing the decline, highest disapproval rating even before the first term. So it's just going to continue from here. Sadly, I really worry that he's going to completely tank everything, and we're going to be in like a horrible recession like this. I read about this before the election, and I know you love to call me Debbie Downer, but it's just, I think about these things, the worst things that could happen and things that are likely to happen. And sadly, a lot of times they do. And it's a scary thought, because even for people, like us, ourselves, like we grocery shop, we have to pay rent, we have to, like, things are getting unaffordable. It's getting very, very difficult, even if you don't have children. And I cannot even imagine, people that have kids and have families. And
Tara's got a child and a cat.
I have, well, fortunately, both of my children are grown adults and don't live with me, and I'm no longer responsible for feeding them. But I do have 2 cats, and I have to feed them as well as myself. So, and keep a roof over our heads and stay employed and, try to make a living with, everything. Here's the thing. He is not doing a good job. He has never done a good job. He's never actually done anything good for anybody except to enrich himself. Anybody who says that the country is better off now than we were just even in December is lying, because it's just, you cannot compare. It's tanking, and it's tanking hard. And I think one of the reasons why they're trying to do it as fast as possible is because they knew that there would only be a certain amount of time they could get away with things before people were like, wait, what are you doing? And so, right. And it goes back to, we're going to throw everything at the wall. We're going to see what we can make stick and what we can get away with. And so Democrats, again, this goes back to the Democratic press secretary. This goes back to the whole essence for this segment, which is we need to make sure the truth is louder than what they're putting out there. And louder than MAGA is a hashtag I tried to make happen forever ago on Twitter, because if we're not louder, then the lie is what takes hold. That's why we need the truth to be louder than their lies, and let the truth be the thing that I want it to matter to people, that there are facts available to them, and the truth may be scarier, but it's still more important and will eventually be the thing that makes things better. So
that's what I hope.
Right?
I agree.
That's where we are. It shall set us free.
And that's why we do the bull segment. So BullBusters. So last thing before we wrap up, Nitha, where can people follow your work? Where do you want them to go?
Honestly, I hate to even say it. I'm going to still call it Twitter. It's at Nida Khan NY. So it's NIDAKHANNY. And yes, I'm still there. Sorry.
That's fine. And what about you, my friend Tara?
I'm still there too. Tara Dublin Rocks. I'm also Tara Dublin Rocks on Blue Sky. I have a Substack. I have a YouTube. And then my book, The Sound of Settling, is available right now at taradublinrocks.com. But we are boycotting Amazon this week, so I encourage you to order it from an independent bookstore in your city, or like Matt Powell's, which is my favorite independent bookstore.
Great. Well, thank you, both of you, for being on the first BullBusters. We broke a lot of bull. We got 4 lies. We fact-checked the heck out of it, and we explained why. Thanks so much.